It's very hypnotic. I spin solely from Shetland fleece. I started as 3 and 4 and 5-year-old watching women spinning at the Conisbrough show and loved it. It was years later before I got to that stage of learning to spin. Once you start, it is very addictive. You start with a raw fleece and you end up with a yarn which you can then use. We have such a variety in the different colours, and you can end up with 40 shades of natural Shetland fleece. In the past years, there have been different government schemes which has got rid of a lot of the coloured fleece here, but you still find farmers keeping some coloured Shetland sheep.
There are survivors of a very interesting past. The Vikings would have brought them here 1,200 years ago. There was probably already some Soy type sheep, again a primitive breed, already here, and there would have been interbreeding.
So what does it mean by like primitive breed?
They've been relatively isolated up until the last couple of 100 years when people brought in different breeds. But because those different breeds couldn't exist as well, say in the hills and in rough areas, then the Shetland breed has maintained its purity. Shetland sheep have adapted to a very wet environment. They're one of the few breeds that can shake its fleece like a dog. They can survive on low levels of nutrition, although here we've got reasonable pasture. In simple terms, they're very easy to look after. Of all the thousands of sheep in Shetland, probably only about 25% are pure Shetland. We're basically traditionalists and we wanted to help to preserve the native breed because there is challenge from crossbreeds. We've got cat mugget, we've got gull mugget, we've got black, we've got crunnet.
We usually slip the ram into the yows on about the 5th of December, and then they're pregnant for 5 months, less 5 days.
So the lambs appear in late April and early May. Why do they all want me? What am I, like a sheep king? When she looks at you, she looks adorable. A caddy is a lamb that's maybe like lost its mom or one of its mom's others didn't work, or it's already got like 2 other lambs to deal with, so it can't feed them. And we have to feed it from a bottle with milk with this special powder and water mixed together, and it makes like a milk.
I enjoy having caddies because I think it's quite nice being able to feed them and interact with them. There's May's daisy chain. They're always quite tame because they know that we feed them so they can trust us, whereas other lambs, they would just run away and they'd be scared of us.
Today I'm going to round up the sheep here and I'm going to shear them. I have some black ones and murret ones and some white ones. They're just mixed. Boys, we're going to tack the yows off the top of the hill and bring them down through here. If one of you wants to stop the sheep going into the narrow point, these lambs now are about 6 weeks old and their mother is starting to come onto the grass. There's more grass growing and their new fleece is starting to grow up, maybe 3/4 of an inch. We can get the shears in between the new fleece and the old fleece, so there should be a good separation or rise on the fleece. Hundreds of years ago this fleece would have naturally come off, but now the sheep is in better fettle, so they hold onto the fleece, so we have to do it mechanically. Like most farmers, I can do a bit of electric shearing and it's fine to be able to do the job yourself. It just makes such a difference on maybe a small place like this. This is a cat and mugget yow. I have a flock of about 20 of these ones and they have a beautiful badger face with the dark belly underneath and it goes right up the back end. And it's just a very attractive yow with a long heritage. They can appear out among different types of yows. It seems to me must be a very strong genetic line. This one is just 14 months old. It's had its first lamb. It seems to be doing well for a small yow.
The best fleece that comes off the Shetland sheep is the first fleece. So it's from year-old animals. This is a cat nugget fleece from John Abernethy. It's a last year's lamb. You can feel the softness in it. As the animal ages, the quality deteriorates a little each year. So that first year is its best. The main reason is it's got a little extra growth on it. The tips are really fine. Now that the sheep are sheared, the tips for the next year is a blunt tip, it's been cut. So the first year is a natural tip. So it's softer, it's nicer, it's longer. So the lambs that are born this year go on to be the producers of some of the finest Shetland fleeces next year. Shetland sheep have been here for a few thousand years. Everything about them seems to be a little bit unique and interesting. And you can say the same about Shetland itself and maybe some of the inhabitants.